Do you guys know what time it is? I don't even have a watch on. It is time for One Piece, chapter 1174, full spoilers, brother. As per usual, if you have not read the spoilers for yourself yet, make sure to go down to the comment section, check it out there. I'll be tapping it out piece by piece, as well as sourcing it out to where I found these spoilers in the first place, so go there as well and drop Pew Piece a nice follow. So, getting right into the chapter, we pick up where we left off last week with the GOAT, the comedian, Saint Sommers. He sees that Dark Nika has destroyed their escape route. They can no longer take the kids safely off the island. There's now a massive hole there. And at first, he's like, I gotta stop these kids. They're gonna walk off the cliff. And then, when he realizes that he can't really do anything about this because they're following Gunko-Emu's arrow, a light bulb flickers in Saint Sommers' mind. And he's like, wait a minute. This would technically be the Great One's fault. And not just that, he starts drooling. He says that this is going to be a great death. This is going to be fantastic to witness. He turns to the kids and he says, because of the situation, you guys will have a hilarious, terrible death at hand. And yes, it seems like Saint Sommers is leaning into his sadistic nature. He is truly a celestial dragon, and it kind of goes back to what we said last week. He is a funny character to follow. Like, dude, what is this? It's the Great One's mistake? Brother, that is your boss, man. That is the boss that can literally kill you in one hit. Yeah, Saint Sommers is very interesting here. At first I was like, maybe Emu, gives him a slap on the wrist. Emu won't care. We'll let him slide. But at this point, I'm like, maybe he does die, dude. Like, not only is he making mistakes here on this island, but now he's willing to throw Emu under the bus for the mission's failure. Like, dude, you can literally pick up the Denden Mushi and call Emu. That's how they communicated beforehand. They also have telepathy, my man. Yeah, I think he just doesn't want to get in trouble. And he also just wants to kill some kids, man. Crazy stuff. Of course, this is a horrifying revelation for the kids. They all start crying. They all start thinking about every bad thing they've done. Colin remembers a time where he beat a kid a little bit too badly, and Ripley was scolding him because he's too strong and that he should be kinder to others. This is essentially what kids do when they hear they're on Santa's naughty list. They're like, wait a minute, let me think about every bad thing I've done this year and just feel bad about it. That's what's happening with the kids here. We're getting multiple flashbacks, and boom, the parents have now arrived in front of them. We see that, yes, the thorns are still on them. Yes, they're still walking up the cliff, but the parents do not care. Ripley, being the main one here, goes over and hugs Colin. Of course, she gets pricked by Saint Sommers' thorns. She is bleeding, but she does not want Colin to fall off the cliff alone. And she's not the only one, right? We have the other relatives coming in as well. We have Oimo, Rodo, and all hugging the kids and falling off to the underworld together. So I think right now is the best time to mention the title of this chapter. The title of the chapter is The Strongest Thing in the World. Initially, I kind of went towards Loki. I was like, oh, maybe that's Loki's title, right? We had the world's strongest man being Whitebeard, the world's strongest swordsman being Mihawk, the world's strongest creature being Kaido. Maybe Loki is the world's strongest thing. And of course, I do not have the chapter in front of me right now. I have not looked at the pages or multiple translations yet, so it could still refer to Loki. But according to Worst Gen, that title actually refers to a parent's love for their kids. And that does sound very One Piece-like, so I wouldn't mind that being the case. And I remember back, it was an old SBS, I think it was like SBS 50 or 52. Somebody mentioned like, hey, Oda, what is the strongest thing out there? And Oda was like, oh, it's a mother's love for their son. And it's like, okay. I think this does fall in line with One Piece shenanigans, so the world's strongest thing being love, I am down for it. So another thing people are bringing up is Ange. Last chapter, a lot of people, had this crazy theory that Ange was a traitor, a villain, a nasty person. But here in the spoilers, Ange is actively hugging thorn children as they're falling off the branch in the sun realm. So people, rightfully so, are like, Sai, does this disprove the Ange's evil theory? And I'm like, wait a minute, guys. We gotta remember that even Kanjuro, go back to Wano, Kanjuro was willing to kill himself in that boiling pot if it meant deceiving the scabbards. Think about that for a second. A wolf in sheep's clothing doesn't take off that clothing at night. It wears it until the feast. So when people ask me if this clears Ange's name, I don't know, man. You tell me. You tell me. So, we see that the minute they all fall off the branch, Elbaf begins to shake and tremble because something colossal appears. Something giant. We see that Luffy is in Gear 5th form, his giant form at that, and he's with a creature. And this creature saves the children and the parents. And we see that this is actually Loki transformed into a dragon. Dude, do you know how big you have to be to catch multiple giants on your back with room to spare? The leakers say that the size comparison here is enormous. Luffy, in Gear 5th giant form, the same giant form that was bigger than Kaido and used them as a jump rope, is only a third of the size of Loki's horn. Think about that for a third of the size of Loki's horn. Dude, Kaido, I don't even know what you'd call Kaido at that point compared to Loki. Kaido would genuinely be like a worm on the ground. It is crazy how big he is. So the leakers go on and they say that Loki is a black Western dragon. My goat. I love Western dragons, man. When it comes to Eastern versus Western, I think Western dragons have so much more aura. I just hope that it looks different from the dragons we saw at Punk Hazard and even Nidhogg here in Elbaf, and apparently so. The leakers say that this dragon is a mix between a Game of Thrones dragon and it has the head of the Sleeping Beauty dragon, which I had no idea this existed, but here's an image of that right there. And to top it all off, Loki's eyes are like Big Mom's eyes and or a Domi Reversied character. This is so fascinating. When Big Mom had this in Wano, I thought it was all artistic. And then we later got Domi Reversied characters getting those eyes, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's just a style Oda is going with. But seeing that Loki has it here in his grand reveal, and even in the silhouette during the King Herald flashback, it's like, okay, maybe there's something more to these eyes. One theory I've seen floating around in the community right now is that maybe these eyes correlate to the soul, like it's some sort of soul power-up, and I wouldn't hate it. I do just generally think we need more information on these eyes, and if they are a genuine power-up or, an attribute identifier per se. But as far as Loki's design, brother, I am happy with it. I cannot wait to see it. And again, I said this yesterday, but I really hope he does end up being a black dragon. Because in One Piece, you know how Oda is, right? We have one thing in the manga, and then we get there in the anime or official colorings, and they're like rainbow colored. Hopefully they specify it, because I do think black dragons, they got aura, man. I get it, the Holy Knights, they're rainbow colored. Toby Roppo, they all have their things going on. I get it. Loki has pink hair, but the black dragon, man, come on, man. Let's not miss out on it. And plus, Loki, pink hair, people are expecting a pink dragon. Where'd it got Momonosuke? Do we really want double pink dragons? I guess it would be kind of cool, but yeah, I think black just has the aura, guys. I'm sorry. We see that since Loki has arrived, it has now begun to snow. And not just snow, but lightning is following it as well. Lightning and snow strikes all over the island. The leakers say that this is thanks to Loki's power. Again, we do not have the chapter in front of us. This could also be due to Ragnir, because we saw that Ragnir had the Niflheim Ice ability, and Ragnir also has lightning abilities. So, again, is this Loki's doing it, or is Ragnir the one causing the storm? Could be both. It really could be both. So one thing to mention is that we do not get the name of Loki's devil fruit in this chapter. Oda is still hiding that. But of course, I bet we will get it pretty soon once Emu actually says something about Loki, or once Loki starts, using his powers and fighting somebody significant. So Dragon Loki gets the kids and the parents to safety, And then that is when Loki starts fighting the MMA nightmare monsters. At the same time, he is fighting. We hear the drums of liberation all around the island. Giants are surprised to hear the drums, and Sommers is furious. I'm assuming he's angry because the kids didn't end up dying. He was really looking forward to it, man. He was licking his lips over that. Emu-Gunko is witnessing all of this in silence. You know, Emu is so hilarious, brother. He is just one of those characters that could genuinely tell us everything. Like, oh, I recognize this dragon. It is blah, blah, blah. Oh, Luffy. He doesn't know he can do this. Ooh, he reminds me of this guy from the Void Century. Emu could be that character. They could be a lore dump, a who's who of Elbaf. But instead, Emu is pulling a dragon, and they're simply hitting us with the ... The Giants are like, wait, what is this rhythm? Elbaf is shaking, and then we get the last page where Loki is destroying everything in his path, and he's defeating many of the nightmare monsters. I'm curious, how is Loki doing this? Of course, you know, he is a dragon, so maybe he's just like stampeding through, but is he like ripping their heads off? Is he using his claws? Is he breathing fire or ice or lightning? I gotta see this for myself, man. I am excited. And while Loki is doing this, we see that Luffy and Ragnar are simply riding on his head still. Chapter ends with Yarul's speech, where he says that on the day of a lightning snowstorm, a gigantic beast appears, covering the sky, and alongside it, the drums of liberation and the sun god descends. Luffy, at the very end, has the last laugh because he says that this is so funny. Look at how big you are, Loki. End of chapter, break next week. So Yarul's line here, I don't think he's just quoting nothing. I think this is going to be from the Harley text, or maybe even a poneglyph, or perhaps this is simply a legend that people in Elbaf just repeat and regurgitate. So when it comes to this reveal, I am personally a big fan of it. I do like Western dragons, and I'm glad we're finally getting another design rather than what we've been getting with Nidhogg, the Punk Hazard dragons, and even the Ryuma dragon. And then there's the purple dragon and the color spreads. I am so glad that Oda took that dragon design and said, okay, let's change it up with Loki. I think that's my main thing. I just wanted something brand new, and I got it, and I'm happy, man. But with that being said, I have seen some people not exactly liking this reveal for two reasons. One, because we do have a lot of dragons prior in the story, but two, because the reveal is pretty obvious. You know, needless to say, if you've been around the community, you have most likely heard the theory that Loki is a dragon. Because of the mural, because of Nidhogg, and lastly, simply because the silhouette looked like a dragon. It didn't take a rocket scientist to say that Loki was most likely going to be this right here. But as far as the complaints go, I think it's valid. You know, if you don't like dragons, you don't like dragons, right? It's like not liking vegetables. It's like, well, we can't make people like dragons. Generally, though, I think people do enjoy this reveal. I think it is what people wanted. And especially when it comes to the design, according to the leakers, it's not goofy. It's not silly. And I think that's my main thing too, right? You know, we've had a lot of silly designs in One Piece. I know it's Oda's bread and butter, but I do want something with aura, and this more or less sounds like it. Now, I just gotta see it in action, man. But at the end of the day, that's just me. If you have a different opinion, that is totally valid. But with that being said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on this chapter down below. What are you looking forward to the most? What are your thoughts on this reveal and all that good stuff? Of course, and the next couple of days, we will be coming back and looking through that comment section. So if you want your comment read, make sure to drop it down there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way until the end. I really freaking appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next couple of days because there is a break week and I'm going to be chilling. Peace out and stay safe, y'all.